Hey, survivors, good afternoon. I'm so excited to speak to you guys today. It seems like it's been a while, and so it's just me today. And I wanted to talk about miracles. Miracles have been something that, since Lilli's passing, have just illuminated in my life. And it's been quite an amazing journey. And as I thought about the many miracles that have happened in my life, um, just after Lilli passed, just thinking back alone on the many things that happened, it's just amazing to me. Um, Recently, Josh and I were on a hike in Alaska, and I had, as we were going along, it was a really steep, like straight up hike. They don't believe in switchbacks, I guess, in Alaska. But I felt Lilli really strongly. She just said, "Pay attention, Mom." And as I looked down, or actually straight in front of me, because the hill was quite steep, I saw a little flower growing out of just rocks. And wildflowers have a very special place in my heart. Um, Janie Waddell wrote a song. We met her in Nashville, Tennessee, and we just told her our story. And she's a singer-songwriter. And that Christmas, she sent us a song that she wrote about Lilli. And at the end, it says, "I don't know where love goes, but I can tell you where the wildflowers grow." And believe me, I listened to that song over and over and over again. And one day, as the song ended, and those words were spoken about the wildflowers, I felt Lilli tell me that those wildflowers are the miracles. She said, "Those are the miracles, Mom. The beautiful things that have come from my death." And ever since then, I think about it, I obsess over, and miracles to me are wildflowers. Because it is a miracle that these flowers can grow in a rock, through the crack of a rock, or in a dry field, or just in places that you wouldn't think a flower could grow, because we know that some flowers take a lot of care and they can only be in the sun, or they can only be in the shade. And it's just quite miraculous what wildflowers can do and where they can grow. And so as I looked at that wildflower, I just thought about miracles and wildflowers. And it was such a great reminder to me of the beauty that comes from hard things. And as I climbed that mountain, there were so many things that reminded me of my journey, my uphill journey that was very, very hard. But as we came to the first kind of plateau where you could kind of look around and see the view, it was amazing. And it brought back my journey. And this beautiful view, after a hard climb of a few months, I think, in my journey, I wanted to do a dance scholarship. And I've talked about this before, but for girls that couldn't afford it. And that day, I will never forget. That night, it was beginning of December. And so what's that, a few months, 4 months, something like that, after Lilli passed, where I'd spent every night just bawling my eyes out. To see that come to fruition, to see those girls' faces, to experience such a beautiful thing. And I wouldn't have done it. I don't think I would have done it if Lilli hadn't passed away, but it was the best Christmas present I ever could have had at that time. It filled my heart to overflowing of joy. And that's just one of the miracles. Another one was when we were able to start the service club, just all the service things that we have done in her name, in her remembrance, to carry on her legacy of kindness. Every time it brings so much joy. And I'm so thankful for the angels that helped it happen, because it's for sure not all me. I kind of go to these people with an idea and they embrace it and they make things happen. And I'm so grateful for that. Recently, I had an experience with the miracles. Our prophet of our church, President Nelson, recently told us to expect miracles in our lives. And we were traveling, I was traveling with the kids to Canada, and they have some pretty strict regulations to get across the border. We all had our passports, and I had them all tested a few hours before in Great Falls. And I come to the border and I have their negative tests. And the man says, well, it looks like you need to go talk to immigration. So we all went in, and the lady looked at me and said, oh, this is going to take a long time, so just go sit down. So we waited for an hour, and then I went up there and they said, how long have you been planning this trip? And I said, well, for a couple months. And said, well, things have changed. They said, your kids aren't vaccinated, are they? And I said, no. And she said, they're not allowed in the country, 5 and up, if they're not vaccinated. And I said, why would I, from what I understood, if I was vaccinated, my minors could come with me with the option of quarantining. And she said, no, it's changed. And I said, there's no way. I've traveled 11 hours and you're telling me there's no way for me to get across. And she said, no. So I went out and I was just heartbroken. I was in shock, and I had to go around and talk to the other US side and get back into America. And I told my parents, and they just couldn't believe it. My dad was going to go talk to a friend that works at the border. And so as I went across the border, I was pretty composed, and the man asked, what was the purpose of your visit? And I said and I just broke down, like ugly crying, to visit my family, because the realization that I couldn't see my family had set in. Like I hadn't seen my sister, one of my sisters, for 3 years, and it was just heartbreaking. And so I went and waited at a rest stop. We're trying to figure out what to do. And I guess my dad talked to his friend, and they said that if I had proof of my Canadian citizenship, they couldn't deny me, and they couldn't deny my minor children. So that was the plan. Josh was out of town, so he couldn't get me the stuff I needed right then. So I was going to go and stay half an hour in a motel. And so as I was driving there, Josh, I tell him what's happened, and he said, Stacy, do you believe in miracles? And I said, yes, I do. And he said, why don't you go try again? And my sister had sent me a website, the Government of Canada website, that said that I could, if I was a fully vaccinated adult, then my minors could come, and it would just be up to the person at the border. And so after I talked to Josh, I pulled over and we said a prayer. And then after the prayer, I said, kids, what was your feeling? What do you think we should do? And they said, let's turn around and try again. And so in my heart, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, it's probably the same lady. But then I had to remind myself, like, just believe in miracles, expect a miracle. And so we went back, and it was a different guy. And he said that all I needed was like the negative results from their COVID tests. So I was trying to get him up on my phone, but of course the internet wasn't good. So he's like, oh, don't worry, just go inside and talk to immigration. I was like, oh, great, the same lady. And so I go in there, but I still was just holding on to that little bit of faith that I could. And I showed her that he just wanted me to show my negative test. And she said, you can't get through, your kids are not vaccinated. I said, I know you have your rules here, but your government of Canada says this. And so she looked it up and she said, oh, this must be out of date. And I said, can I talk to your supervisor? And she said, sure. And so the supervisor came and said that she'd look at it, and we waited for 45 minutes about. And I was sitting there just thinking, God, I told him, I said, God, I am at the Red Sea right now, and I need you to part it. And I'm expecting to go see my family. And so while we waited, that's what I had in my head, that I was going to see my family. And they called us up and they said, we looked into it, and there is a part somewhere that says that supports what you're doing. So we'll let you go through. And I said, just to let you know, you're giving me a gift today, because I haven't seen some of my family members for 3 years. And the elation and the joy was amazing. And that miracle was such a blessing to me and my family, and of course to see my sisters and my mom and dad. And so modern day miracles, they do happen today. And no, God hasn't raised Lilli from the dead. Do I wish that would have happened? Yes. But he has performed many miracles in my life that have, I feel like my earthly angels that came to my aid with just food in their hands, or a text, or just coming over to say hi if I needed anything. That to me was a miracle, because I felt in my heart the love, that I was loved during such a hard time. And it helped heal my heart just a little bit. It helped lift me just till the next, I don't know, hour or day, whatever it did. But those to me were miracles. And I know it's so consuming some days with your grief and with the hard things that you go through. But if you look at those little things that lift you, even just a flower, I think a flower is a miracle. I think all of God's creations are miracles. The fact that we're breathing is a miracle. And to look around. Lilli, she wrote on our chalkboard before we left for Florida, before the accident, you find what you look for the good. And when you do look for those good things in your life, even if it's just the fact that you got out of bed, that's a miracle. It is the fact that you are able to play with your kids that day because you feel well enough to do so. That's a miracle. There's so many miracles in our lives. And when we look at them as miracles, we are, the happiness that accompanies that, the light that accompanies that, it just buoys you up so much. And so I would just challenge everyone to expect miracles in your life. Of course, and one more thing I would say about the accident is when I was laying there and I couldn't get to Lilli, but I could hear her and I could see just from chest down. Oh, was I praying? And I felt very strongly that there would be a miracle. And I thought it would be Lilli. Because I knew it was bad for her. But the miracle was that all I had was, I didn't have brain damage because I hit my head really, really hard. It could have been so much worse. All I had was a broken collarbone and a broken shoulder. That's a miracle, because when the first guy that came upon the vehicle, he didn't know if anyone would be alive. He saw it. He was in front of us. A miracle is that all my kids, all of my other 4 kids, escaped with just bruises and scratches. And it's a miracle to me how well they're doing. It has helped my daughter, Izzy, blossom into an amazing individual who teaches me. She has such a perspective that is like so much clearer than mine sometimes. And I'm so grateful for her and how she teaches me. She really has blossomed into an amazing young woman. And my other children, they have grown a lot from this. I know that kids are resilient, but I also know they felt the sting. They felt the hurt. But they have grown into beautiful flowers, beautiful wildflowers. They've grown into something beautiful through such a hard thing. I know that I have grown, and my husband, Josh, has grown. And we've seen many beautiful things happen in our lives. And we're so, so grateful for that. We miss our Lilli so much. But we are so grateful that we get the miracle of feeling her presence and her strength when we are having a hard time. I hope that each of you will look at your lives and see the beauty coming through your hard time. See the flowers that are blooming or that have bloomed through those rocks, through those hard times. I know sometimes it can be hard. Sometimes we don't want to see the beauty, but there's definitely keep climbing, keep looking around. And when you've climbed that mountain, or maybe you're not even at the top, maybe you're just starting up that mountain, just know that there is beauty to be seen. There is blossoming happen within yourself and with your family, and that it's an amazing, spectacular view. When we choose to see those things in our lives that aren't just happenstance, that aren't just a coincidence, but we see them as miracles, the miracles that God chooses to give us, that you will be filled with joy. You will be filled with a gratitude. And I always say that gratitude is like magic. When you look for those things around you that you're grateful for, it just can't help but smile. Can't help but just be so overjoyed with what you've been blessed with. So I hope that you take this and you use it in your life and look for those miracles and for the wildflowers in your life, and you will find them and you'll be amazed, because I've been absolutely amazed at how God works in our lives, how these hard things can make us into better people, and how we might not always feel like we're better people because we are hurting so bad or we're angry, but he's still there, and he's still giving us miracles, and he's still showing his love, and he's giving his love. And so I hope that you all can find the wildflowers, look for the wildflowers in your life, and be filled with peace and joy. And I thank you for being here tonight or this afternoon, and send my love. Thank you.